Hey guys, it's Fox here, and today we are taking this robot-looking doll and we're turning her into a different sort of robot. Forgive me, I don't remember what the character's called. But first things first, we're going to be priming her body with some white paint. I'm doing just her torso and her hands and forearms. So for this doll, it's actually inspired by one of my favorite songs, Broken Machine by Nothing But Thieves. It's been kind of hard to stay motivated during all the crazy things that have been happening lately. What with, the pandemic. But for some reason, I've always found a lot of inspiration from Nothing But Thieves, so of course, it seemed like a good idea to make an actual broken machine. Now, if you don't know this song, unfortunately, I would love to play it in the background of this video, but I do not understand copyright laws, so I'm not even going to risk it. So I recommend looking it up. They have a version, I believe it's from 2017. Basically, they had a string orchestra in the back, and it's honestly the best version of that song. But yeah, so now we're painting her silver to kind of make her more robot looking. The bronze was honestly fine, but I wanted her to be more, I don't know, in my head I saw like a stereotypical silver robot. So somebody recently asked me how I reroute my dolls. Basically, I use a sewing needle, which I've cut the pointy end off of, and I've cut the eye into a hook shape. I hot glued it into the cap of a fabric glue bottle, and basically I hook it, and I just, kerplunk that into the head. It goes in really easy, really simple, but that's how I do it personally. Next, we're going to just highlight her face with some pastels and also darken up areas such as around her eyes, around her nose, her cheekbones. Also, I have her hair in this clip, but it is so hot and humid where I live. It rained for like days whenever I was making this doll, and for some reason, I guess the paint didn't set correctly because I put her outside. It literally like melted off with my finger. Like I literally touched the head and it just slid off. So I ended up taking out her hair. You'll see it later, but I ended up taking her hair out and completely redoing her face, the paint on her face. But I did the exact same thing as I did here with the pastels, so I didn't want to re-record that. Alright, now it is time to get started on the actual face-up. I'm using my watercolored pencils. I'm actually dipping them in water this time to activate those watercolor properties. That way I get as much pigment as I can, because they were, even though I had sprayed her with Mr. Super Clear, they weren't really showing up that well on their own, so it needed that oomph from the water. Also, you can kind of see it, but I used a silver wax pigment and kind of lightly brushed it on her forehead and on her cheeks, just to kind of give her this scratched up look. Here I'm using purple as a base for her lipstick. I'm going to go over it with black, but I didn't want it to be just a flat black. I wanted to give it kind of a little hint of purple in there. I'm doing the same thing with the eyebrows, where I'm adding purple first and then going over with black. That way it's not just a flat black. Also, I am making her look sad and forlorn, because for some reason, that's just like all of my art. All of my art is either inspired by music You know, take a look at Taurus, Virgo, Blue Madonna, Abyss, or they look sad. I want to point out too that I am making the colors of her eyes red because it's, you know, classic robot, but I also kind of want to make it a little bit of a reference to HAL from 2001 Space Odyssey, you know, the OG sentient robot. I'm also going to line her eyes with a black paint just to make them pop a little bit more, so it's not just black on black. You can have a little bit of shade variation. To make her eyes pop just a little bit more, I am going over it with a white colored pencil. Just the eyeliner parts. I wanted to accentuate the fact that, you know, she's got eyeliner and eyelashes, because you couldn't really tell just from afar. So that made it pop just a little bit more. I'll also be going over that with a white paint just to make it pop a bit better. Alright guys, I have put her head on her body. As you can tell, I've cut her from the waist down and I cut a hole into her. I've also added that silver pigment on her just to make her look, you know, scratched up, worn out. And I'm using a wet down black colored pencil, and I'm just going over all of the lines on her to make it look more like, just to give a little bit more depth to all the pieces that fit together to make her look more robotic, more welded together. To add a little more destruction, I'm cutting some fingers off, because, yeah. It's time to make her look more robotic with some green, blue, and red wire. I'm just hot gluing that into the crevice, and I've also kind of frayed the wire that's going to be sticking out of her arm so it looks more, you know, torn apart. And I'm also going to be adding a little clay heart. So, as it turns out, I you're gonna see, I attempted to make a heart on camera, and then I realized I don't really know how hearts look, so I went and I made one off camera because I really had to stare at like some anatomical diagrams for a bit to make sure what I was doing was sort of right, so that's what I came up with. Not bad for a first time at making a heart, huh? But I cut some wire, made it look like it was embedded in her, and we're going to be painting that silver. As you can see, I ended up going for a more reddish silver on her heart, and now it's time to add a little more details, some veining, some shadows, things like that, just to make it look like her heart is semi-human compared to the rest of her. now she's pretty much done. I have her hot glued onto a canvas, and in that hot glue I'm adding some screws just to kind of give her a more mechanical hardware look. As an afterthought, I added some wires onto the canvas just to kind of make it more interesting. Unfortunately, I did not film that. Sorry guys, that was my bad. And here she is. What do you think? So there's a line in Broken Machine that says, "I'm a broken machine, I can do anything. I've got nothing to hide, now I start to dream." And this piece was actually specifically based on that little line. Basically, I wanted it to look like she was becoming more sentient and more human the more that she broke down. And she was kind of feeling this rush of feelings, you know, the more deteriorated she got, which is kind of sad, but I wanted her to look beautiful and sad. But I hope you guys like her as much as I do, and I will see you guys in the next video. Don't forget to like, favorite, comment, subscribe, all that other good stuff, and wherever you may be in the world right now, I hope you are staying inspired and staying safe. I will see you guys next time. Bye!